Good afternoon. I'm going to make raspberry and fresh cream roulade today. It's very similar to a Swiss roll, but the big difference is instead of being made with sponge, it's made with meringue. So first job is to separate 5 eggs. So all we want is the white. The yolk can go into another bowl to be used for another recipe, or even some lovely scrambled egg. Quite big eggs these are. So as you can see, I'm just chucking it from shell to shell, and then that goes in there. So that's 5 eggs we're going to do there. So we want to line a Swiss roll tin with some greaseproof paper. You can see Swiss roll is just a thin baking tin. And then we want to set our oven to 150 Celsius or 300 Fahrenheit, gas mark 2. It's quite a low temperature for this. So we're not going to bake it, we're going to basically dry the meringue out. It's very important that there's no yolk in the egg white, because otherwise the meringue won't work. So you just want egg white in there, no yolk whatsoever. So next we want 5.5 ounces of caster sugar, but as you can see I never use caster sugar, I always use granulated sugar. To be honest, I don't really see the difference. Now I'm going to use my big mixer. You don't have to, you can do it in a bowl, and you can use a hand mixer just as well. But I got the big mixer, so that's what I'm going to use today. So the next thing we need is 2 teaspoons of corn flour, and we need that to be sifted. So we sift that into a little bowl. There we go, nice and sifted, no lumps in that. And we just set that aside. Now the last ingredient before I start mixing it all together, you could make this a chocolate roulade, in which case you would take 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder, sieve it, and we would add it later. But I've never tried this before, but I'm going to try a tablespoon of ground almonds. Hopefully it'll work. So there's my tablespoon of ground almonds into the last bowl, and now we're ready to start mixing. Okay, so in go the egg whites. Just make sure that the bowl you're tipping them into is nice and clean. We don't want anything to interfere with the meringue not working. So crank that up a bit. Now this is what we're looking for. The egg whites now to be all soft and fluffy, just like that. That's what we want. So now what we're going to do is put the mixer back on. And now the sugar, we are just going to add it gradually. And the reason for this is if we put it in too quick, then the meringues will just collapse. So as you can see, I'm just tipping the sugar in nice and slowly, with the whisk going. I know this may be a bit time consuming, and you may think, oh, let's just chuck it all in, it won't affect it. But effectively, all you do, you collapse the meringue. And we don't want to collapse our meringue, do we? So as you can see, it's going pretty quick. The sugar's nearly in now. And all I'm doing is shaking it in nice and slowly. That's a very important part of the mixing process. So there goes the last of the sugar. And we'll just whisk it up a little bit faster for a couple of minutes. And that's starting to look like a nice meringue. So I can give you a close up. There we go. So all I'm going to do now, put in the other ingredients in. The corn flour and the ground almonds. And we're not going to whisk it this time, we're just going to give them a little fold in. We don't want to go knocking all the air out of that meringue now. So all we're doing is just giving them a quick little fold into our mixture. There you go, and that should do it. And I'll show you again, there's a mixture we have. And yes, if you put it over your head, it shouldn't fall out, but we're not going to do that. So there we go, we're just emptying all the meringue into the meringue tray. And give it a good flattening out. Try and get it as level as you can. And like I say, to be honest, this is pretty new to me because I've never made a roulade before. So if this works, it's win-win. So you were watching it and you're watching me doing it for the first time. I'd made plenty of meringues, but I'd never actually made a roulade. I don't think I have anyway. So there we go, and that's ready to go into our oven. That's preheated for, I think it's just over an hour. I will check that. So that's gone in the oven now for an hour, and that gives you time to clean everything up, have a cup of tea and have a sit down. Right, so we've had a tidy up now, and the meringue is just finishing off in the oven. So a good idea is to get the cream ready. So large tub of double cream. If you want to whip it quicker, you can get whipping cream. It'll take half the time to whip it. Now into that, all I'm going to put is 1 level teaspoon of sugar. It's just granulated sugar. And I'm also going to put, people tend to use fresh vanilla. I just use the stuff out of the bottle. A couple of drops into that. And whisk it until it forms peaks. Just make sure that you keep an eye on the cream. Don't let it whisk and go off and leave it on its own, because once it starts getting lines in it, then it won't be long before it's ready. And the last thing you want is over whipped cream and to ruin it. So that's the cream whipped up. Let me just show you that. There you go, 1 bowl of whipped cream, and quite possibly that would fall out if I tipped it upside down. So I'm just going to cling film this, put it back in the fridge, and it's all ready for when we want to use it. So with about 5 minutes to go, we get a nice bit of colouring on our meringue. Yeah, about 5 minutes now, we're ready to take that out. So there we are, the meringue is out of the oven. It has cooked, but hopefully it'll still be a little pliable. So we're just going to leave that to cool now before we put it on the paper and attempt to roll it. So the roulade has cooled down nicely now. So on a separate piece of baking sheet, nice and evenly with icing sugar. And this will help with the rolling process. And now we need to take our roulade, put it face down, and let's get rid of this out of the way. very carefully peel the paper back. Don't worry if bits of it break off. Once the roulade is cool enough, it's on with fresh cream. And it's entirely up to you how much fresh cream you want to put on it. You will notice that bits of it will break off as you put in the cream on, but like I said before, don't matter, it's going to probably crack quite a bit when you roll it up anyway. But as you can see, there's plenty of fresh cream on there. Oh, I could eat this now, to be honest. Right, that's the fresh cream on. Now for the big moment. Drum roll. We're going to try and roll it. So here we go. And all I'm doing is squashing it down. Squashing it and rolling at the same time. Making a bit of a mess, but that's absolutely right. I won't reveal it yet. I'll just get the plate. So there we have our roulade rolled up. We're going to dust it with icing sugar. And I put some cream into a piping bag, and I'm going to put swirls all along the top. And onto those swirls I'm going to place some lovely fresh raspberries. Oh, that's a big raspberry. And one more on the end. And then you can just put a couple of raspberries around the side just to make it look a bit chefy. Oh, I like that word, chefy. Make sure we've got nice decent raspberries out of the packet. And oh, another one there just to even it up a bit. And I'm just going to do one more thing now to finish it. I'm going to just take some chocolate, melted chocolate in a piping bag, and I'm just going to do this. And I think you'll agree, that is one not bad first attempt at a chocolate roulade. Oh, sorry, it's not chocolate roulade. Raspberry and fresh cream roulade. Lush. So all I can say is thank you for watching. Please like and share it, and see you next time. And what do you do with any chocolate you got left over? Chuck some Rice Krispies in, some crispy cakes.